welcome to our presentation tonight. Tonight we're going to have Dr. Bloomfield. Everybody knows Dr. Bloomfield, he's well known to everybody. He's a board member of the Cancer Society, and he is going to speak on cervical cancer. Cervical Cancer Month was January, but we tend to have an uplifting speech first in January and then have the cancer cervical awareness talk in February. So he has put together a topic, cancer of the cervix, is it preventable? And let him go ahead and present his topic.
Good evening. Thank you kindly for once again affording me the opportunity to be here. But I've done this so many times, I begin to feel that I'm preaching to the choir now. And it's funny, on my way driving over here, I thought maybe instead of doing the presentation like this, I should probably have thought of something more interactive. Because the problem that, and the situation that I've been speaking about from early 1990s still persists. You know, the cause is the same, the number of people being affected remains the same in spite of supposedly all the advantages and the opportunities that the Bahamas now enjoy. But I'll be skipping a lot of the slides and open the floor for questions. Because what I would like to know, rather than me telling you about cancer of the cervix, which you probably have some idea already, is what is it that is missing? What is it that we're not doing or people not doing so that they can, the unfortunate ones can discover that they do have a problem, address it, get treated? Because as the topic says, cancer of the cervix is preventable. It's probably the only cancer of all of the cancers that you can actually prevent. And there are features about it that makes it possible. So we're going to talk a little bit about it. As it says, it's a preventable disease with screening, early detection and treatment, and it still remains the leading gynecological cancer among male and female. And it ranks only breast cancer is more frequent. And that's sad because, again, the breast cancer rate is fairly high for reasons that we are now beginning to understand and appreciate. And again, we go back, cancer of the cervix is preventable. You know, it's one of the ones that allow you to screen, early detection, you literally can prevent it. And so this is, and of course there's treatment available. Even after you have neglected yourself for a while, you know, treatment is still available that you can literally save yourself. Believe it or not, it's actually a sexually transmitted disease. It's caused by the human papilloma virus. The human papilloma virus, there's so many that they're known by numbers and believed to be about somewhere in the region of 130 different types now. And of course, the numbers that we're concerned about typically is 16, 18, 31, 33, 35, 45, 51, 55, 56, and we go down. And as we go down the numbers, the most potent ones and the most virulent ones are 16 and 18. Those two first ones account for almost 3/4 of the number of the persons affected with cancer of the cervix. And again, like I said, still, I can keep saying this over and over, it's a preventable disease. Now, I always use this slide when I give any talk, because I think one of the things that people need to understand is you can manage a disease if you have access to the people, or the persons that are at risk have access to intervention. And again, the Bahamas is very beautiful, especially for people who like to boat and sail and swim. But for people with disease, it's not so good. Because most of what we have is in Nassau. And so the hospitals are here, the major treatment centers exist here. The persons down here, you know, they're really at a serious disadvantage. But in some respect, there are people in Nassau who probably know better off than the people down here. Because at least these people down here often might have an excuse. There's no doctor there, there's probably not no regular nursing system, and there's no treatment. And you also have to pay to come up to Nassau. And it costs the same amount that you probably fly from here to Miami and stuff. So they'd rather just fly here, land here, and then keep going. All right, and stuff. And so it exists all over. So that's the major problem. But again, this is also my teaching slide. The people in the Bahamas are very, very fortunate. And I keep stressing that. Because even though you may live down here, if, for example, somebody decides to get in a fight tonight, stab somebody down in the Nago, government sends a plane down, pick the person up, bring them up to Nassau, and Dr. Shea operate on them for no money. They don't ask for any money. Right? You might have to pay to go back, but they don't ask for any money. So again, in a lot of other countries, that support doesn't exist. So if you live outside of the city, if you live in the mountains, like some people do, or in some of these far districts, you have no access to treatment. And so some of these people, is a blend of, one, being aware that the possibility exists that you can be treated, the willingness to lend yourself to flying from time to time to get evaluated and treated, and of course the Cancer Society have been going back and forth all along trying to help these people out. And I had the distinction of being on the very first flight. The first time we went to Exuma. All right? So, and this has been going on. And this is why I think that by now we should be doing a much better job. Sometimes people say that I can't be bothered because I soon die. Well, you don't die too quickly in the Bahamas. The average life expectancy is around 78. For male is 67. Now I'm getting scared now. Because I'll be 67 in this August. So you might see me around next year. These are just some of the concerns that we have, you know, that these probably far exceed cancer. But again, cancer plays a significant role. It's a major problem. We have just about every cancer in the Bahamas. Genital cancer, some of the ones that are listed as being rare. The oncology group here, Dr. Butler and company, have seen every type you could imagine. The rare ones like cancer of the fallopian tube, you have to be, you know, virtually Jamaican that can swim to get that. But we have it here, all right? Cancer naturally occurs significant amount of morbidity and mortality, and of course, treatment is often limited and very, very costly, all right? And my first warning for people seeking treatment, be careful of where you go. The urge now to jump on a plane and go to these treatment centers of America is not always in the best interest, all right? One of my patients who just had surgery, she had a hysterectomy, she had endometrial cancer, she jumped on the plane and she gone to Miami. The first thing they did on her was a cardiac catheterization. They haven't checked the fact that she had uterine cancer. But because she has long-standing high blood pressure, and she says she has this shortness of breath and stuff, so they haven't done anything to the cancer yet, but they've already done a cardiac catheter. She just had surgery 3-4 weeks ago, and she went through the surgery fine. Of course, they didn't show anything. So already her bill is starting to go up. Another patient had breast cancer, and she jumped on the plane. The surgery was done here, mastectomy was done here, and in 6 months, our $500,000 insurance was burnt up. She bragged when she went first. They picked her up from the airport. They had music therapy, dietary counseling, and everything. Now they're not inviting her back anymore because the insurance is burnt. All right, so be very, very careful about jumping on the plane. Okay? You might have to jump on the plane, but make sure you talk to somebody here before you do. Worldwide, we get about more than 500,000 cervical cancer, and it accounts for almost 250,000 deaths per year. Genetics don't play much of a part because we now understand is a infectious disease. All right. Socioeconomic factors, very, very operative. In other words, if you live in a poor environment, if you live in an area where there's no treatment, then you're going to be in trouble. And of course, there's differences in black and white, non-Jews versus Jewish, but poverty seems to be the underlying. So if you get poor white people, poor Jews living in areas where there's nothing, you got to get it. Because again, the disease is related to sexual activity. And I'm sure everybody, Jews, non-Jews, black, white, Chinese, everybody has sex at some point. As I said before, the disease is caused by the human papilloma virus, and I just said it, disease of sexual activity, more common among the lower socioeconomic group, and people who begin to have sex early age seem to be at greater risk. All right. So we here in the Bahamas are seeing 16-year-olds with abnormal pap smear. What we've learned now is that you don't do too much, don't be too aggressive, because a lot of time it fixes itself. People who have had multiple sexual partners, multiparity means you have a lot of children. That means you have been probably having done. But if it was with one person, then you're kind of clear. All right. And of course, people who have recurrent infections of all kinds. Most women who get cancer of the cervix have never had a pap smear. And I've encountered people who have had more than 10 or 12 children and never had a pap smear. And most of those people come from the family island. They come into Nassau, have the baby, and they jump on the plane or the boat because they can't hang around to get a pap smear. And there's nobody in their town that does it. So again, these people are at risk. And of course, the ones who have pap smears, the ones who still get it are the ones who have not had a pap smear for more than 5 years. Now, I'm sure you've heard if you've had 3 pap smears in a row and it's negative, then you don't need a pap smear annually anymore. You could space it out to every 3 years. Now, my experience and the experience of a lot of people in my shoe is that if you tell somebody come and see me every 3 years, you're never going to see them again. Okay? You're just not going to see them again. The 3 years might be 7, 10, or when something begins to happen. So we still encourage everybody to come annually because you get a physical, you get your blood sugar down, your cholesterol down, and all that kind of stuff. The pap smear is just part of the package. When you're older, if you get the disease, you seem to, well, that applies to almost every cancer. And interesting enough, if you go from normal to invasive cancer, it often takes about 10 years. So there's a lot of time that this intervention can take place and you can literally save your life. Early disease is often asymptomatic. So, of course, as we preach for cancer therapy and treatment, early detection, better outcomes. Why is screening necessary? To detect the cancer, and you want to find it early. Unfortunately, a lot of cancers don't lend themselves to that. The cervix is in a great place. You can see it, you can look at it, you can literally touch it, you can scrape cells off of it, you can pinch off a piece if you want, you can cut it, send it to the lab. And when it begins to become advanced, you can literally see the cancer if it's there. Unlike some of the other ones, we have to open do MRI, imaging, PET, PET scans, CT scans to find some of the cancers. All right? And it can be treated effectively before it begins to convert it to cancer, because you get precancerous lesion. And like I said, it gives a long track record. So it goes from abnormal, slightly abnormal, more suspicious, dysplastic, early cancer, and then of course it keeps going. And the amazing thing, the body has an amazing ability to revert. So if you get an early change, the body has a way of fixing it. So it's not the end of the world. And that's probably what saves a lot of people. All right. And of course, if you have the screening, it can allay your fears. In other words, if you know you have a pap smear done now and it's negative, you're probably going to be all right probably for the next 2-3 years for sure. All right. Screening test, whatever it is, should be cheap, effective, highly sensitive, and specific. So in other words, when you say there's suspicion going on, it should represent suspicion. And it should be available. And the results should be consistent and reproducible. So in other words, if I do a pap smear on one of you young ladies, and it says abnormal, and you go to another doctor, we'd expect the pap smear to say the same thing. Which brings me to, if you don't go, number one, you're not going to get it. If you have any kind of anatomical feature that might distort the cervix or make it difficult for the person to see, like if you have fibroids, large fibroids, and it's sort of twist, you might not be able to see it. And again, if you weigh 400 pounds, it's virtually impossible to see anything or feel anything. And we're getting more and more and more of those now. All right? This is just a clip to show you, again, the numbers. All right? See breast, this is the total for the, and you can see cervix. And this is followed by genital cancers as well. So the uterus, ovary, and vagina is right below cancer of the cervix. So the numbers are there. And this has not changed much. This is just another one. I won't bore you with all of that. Of course, if you notice, head and neck cancer kills you far more frequently than breast or cervix. Okay? And the thing about breast now is not all breast cancers appear to be equal anymore. There's some people who get a real aggressive type, and so, you know, when they find out, it's probably too late for them. Okay? In spite of the fact that they've been doing what they should. Now, for those people who don't know where the cervix is, this is the female anatomy, the uterus, the fallopian tube, the ovaries, cervix right here, the vagina, and of course this is outside, the labium. As I said before, it's caused by the human papilloma virus. And it's transmitted from somebody who obviously has the virus, and it's usually sexually transmitted. And it's, again, this is believed to be one of the most significant infectious carcinogens in human beings. Transmitted sexually, the more than 120 types I said. Cervical cancer, what it does is get into the cervix, because during sexual activity, there's bruising, injury to the cervix, the HPV virus gets in, it replicates, and then it starts recycling itself. And of course, there's the ability for the immune system to push it backwards instead of going forward. If you don't, then of course you will develop cervical cancer. And this is sometimes as long as 30 years. There's a lady, again, somebody said, when do you stop doing pap smears? There's a lady who was seen recently, 74 years old. The last time she had a pap smear was about more than 20 years ago, because she figured she had had a hysterectomy and, you know, she didn't have any need to. Turned out she had cancer in the upper vaginal wall, characteristic of cervix. So again, what I encourage people to do, you don't need to do the pap smear yourself, but you need to get an exam done, right? Because I'm sure that was probably brewing for a while, and if a doctor had examined, you might have seen the inflammatory process that was taking place. You might have seen the easy bruising if you touch the area with the speculum or the brushes and stuff, and so maybe that person would have been assisted. That's kind of rare. This again is the same thing of how the HPV virus moves on. And again, you can see the different types. Now, interesting enough, genital warts are caused by number 6 and number 11. These are benign lesions. It can be very traumatic for somebody if you develop warts though. You know, it can be real ugly and embarrassing. And then you get the ones that are sort of less aggressive, and then of course you get the more aggressive type. As you can see the numbers that I shouted out some of them earlier. The high-risk group is the one that, but you realize not only does it cause cervical cancer, it may cause cancer of the vulva, the anus, and the penis. And so this is one of the viruses that homosexual men will encounter. And you get the penis and the anus in homosexual men due to the HPV virus. All right? And again, let me just quickly put this in. There's now the move to vaccinate young children, both boys and girls. This is the reason. Okay, it's not to let them have sex. It's to prevent the possibility of them getting cervical cancer, vulva, anus, and penis. Now, most people recognize the HPV virus after they have had a pap smear. So we don't it's unusual for us to request the pap smear and the HPV testing at the same time, because it's expensive, relatively expensive. But people who have had abnormal pap smear, we test them to see if they've been exposed to any of the high-risk viruses and stuff. If you are, then it means then you should be getting your pap smear every year. You can't miss. Even if your test coming out negative, if revert to being negative, you have to remember that you have to get your pap smear every year once you've been exposed to the virus, because they don't go away. All right, haven't gotten the test. If you get your pap smear, you should get your results. And a lot of people, they walk away and they say, well, if it was bad, you don't call me. Like everything that we know about, when it's bad is the one time somebody forget to call you. So you should make sure, and not just for pap smear, for every test that you do, you want to know what the result is. And you should get to the point where you demand the results, because if they start, don't call you next week and stuff, because you got to know, all right? Because a lot of the treatment is time related. You know, how good or how bad is it and stuff. The need for treatment, do you need treatment based on the result? And of course, you have to look at your sexual habit. You need to know that it's sexually transmitted. What are your risks? All right? It's due to the HPV agent. We now have vaccinations available. And of course, we now find that a lot of preteens, I used to work with the child abuse unit, so I'm quite familiar with this group. You know, amazingly, we have people that we saw when I worked with them, and I'm sure it is continuing, as young as 9 who were sexually involved. And I'm talking about being abused. Well, it's abused, yes, in the sentence of doing it because you're underage, but they're having regular sex. You know, regular. No, this is not a joke. Regular sex. There's a 9-year-old who her best friend was 13, and she was having sex on a regular basis. And the 13-year-old said, "You should ask for some more money." So she put the price up from $2 to $3, and the fella didn't pay, so she reported it. That's how she got to us. The fella was 26.
Wow.
Okay, all right. These are real stories. All right, so now this is what the cervix look like. Now this is, I put this in to show. This is a prolapsed uterus. So in elderly people, the womb can literally fall out. Now in some respect, I wish everybody's womb could fall out like this. Because then you could do your own pap smear, push it back up and then go about your business. That's a joke, okay? Now the pap smear was invented by George Papilloma and Child. He never got any credit. We all know it as a pap smear, all right? And it has significantly decreased the risk of cervical cancer. And this is essentially what they're looking for. When you send the cells down, put on the slide, this is what normal look like, inflammatory changes, precancerous, and you see the cells, the shape and the contour changes. All right, they're nice, look like potato chips here, and then they start to shrink in size, they start to get double nuclei, and of course, when you get cancer, it's growth. Again, simplicity, acceptability, low cost, it has all the features, benefits. Now this is how you do a pap smear. Okay, this is a start. This is what the normal cervix looks like. It's pink and smooth. All right? You use the spatula first and then you use the brush. The brush should be introduced into the canal because you want to get cells. The cancer not just on the outside, it can be inside the canal as well. Different, but we don't do this much anymore. We don't use slides anymore. We use the liquid methods now, which is like this. And this is what the slides used to look like when they used to use the slide method. And if you had blood, then you basically couldn't read the slide. Now with the liquid one, you can literally centrifuge it and you get off the cells so you can get a good view of whether the cells are normal or not. The question is, when do you get a pap smear? Now, when you become sexually active. So if you're a virgin and persistently virgin, you don't need a pap smear. I said that again. Everybody said it's due to sex. All right, let's start. Now, they suggest by the age of 21, because by that time most people begin to have sex. And the HPV infection often makes it mark during what I call the college years. That's when people go off to college, away from mom and dad, and they experiment and stuff. So, you know, that's usually around about that year. And of course, the recommendation, the yearly pap smear for life. Again, with no history of abnormal, you cannot done every 3 years. That's true. But here's something that you often don't hear. You have to make sure that the person that you're having sex with, not having sex with anybody else. Duh. Okay? Okay? All right, just remember that. Again, this is it. Now, what I said, you can actually look at the cervix and tell when things have gone. So, we go from this to that. Look, that you can actually see it. But this is not cancer. So as gross as this might look, this is not cancer. This is inflammation. Now, this is inflammation within, there's some cells, glands around the cervix that secrete fluid. Because again, if the vagina was dry, you could not have sex. So these glands are there to secrete fluids and make sexual activity possible. This is yeast. This is somebody with an IUCD, that's a string sticking out of it. All right. This is a fibroid coming out of the cervix. All right. These are polyps, and of course this one is cancer. So when we do a physical exam and we look, with good lighting and access, we can see all and recognize all of these things. This is what cancer looks like. Okay, very ugly. Bleeds very easily, and there's a smell that goes along with it. Population at risk, once you become sexually active, and they usually cut off 65, 70, again, follow the guidelines. We mentioned this. Make sure that if you've been tested, it's negative. All right, so we mentioned that. Now, look at the figures. This was 2009. This was the population of the Bahamas, estimated census figure. 100,000 persons were believed at risk based upon what I said earlier. This was the age grouping. Yet we're doing less than, this is the number we should be getting pap smear. This is what we're doing. And this has not changed. All right? 2014, still the same. So the population increase, still not doing anything. See? As a matter, 2016 was a bad year. Now we had less than 17,000. So the numbers were dwindling even more. Okay? And I'm sure it's difficult for me to get results now because I don't work in the system anymore. And I understand if you have to actually write to get permission to get information. So this is basically to 2016. And again, just to give you an idea, this is the Cancer Society numbers. This is Neoplastic Lab. And of course, again, you can see the numbers are relatively small. This is Kelso. And this was my office. I did almost the same amount as what some of the other places have done. All right? So basically, we need to improve access, let people recognize the fact that you need to get a pap smear done. I'm going to speak to you now. When you get, this is what the report can look like. Normal, abnormal, inflammatory, most of this will reverse itself. All right? You may also see signs of infection, trichomonas, herpes, vaginosis, which you can treat with medication. Dysplasia is signaling that if you don't intervene, then it could drift down into cancer. And stuff. So that's why it's important that you get treatment. Again, pre-cancerous lesion, you can take the biopsy to check to see what's going on. You can do excision of the cervix. You still be able to have children. You remove the lesion. It usually repairs itself well. You can use cartridges, freezing, or you can use the laser, which is burning with a light source. And again, colposcopy, literally we put white vinegar on the cervix. I look for areas of whitening where the cervix turns real white and you take a bite out of it. This is what it looks like. And you just take a bite, send it to the lab. Again, as I said before, remember I said you can get lesions up inside the canal, which you probably wouldn't be able to biopsy. So you get an abnormal reading here and you want to know what's going on inside the canal. So what you do is do a cone biopsy so that you can get impression of what's going on up inside the canal, like inside here. By simply excising the lesion, you can prevent that first early stage by whatever methods we have. And again, you can see this is a leaf, literally just cut. It looked almost like an ice cream cone, upside down ice cream cone. Now we have vaccines now, and this is where we get to get what I would encourage everybody now. This is probably what is probably going to help us. Up until about 2 years ago, Gardasil and Cervarix were the two vaccines available. The Gardasil protected you against genital warts and against the two most aggressive forms of the HPV virus that cause cancer of the cervix. Cervarix was just preventing you from the aggressive type of the HPV virus. So it had 16 and 18 in it. So this is the recommendation for vaccination. All right. Cervarix, 1925, recommended 11 to 12 in the US. UK have a different figure. And it's against the 16. Remember, Cervarix only have the 2 component in it. Gardasil, again, they're just about everybody. Okay? And the dosing, you get 3 injections over 6 months, just the same routine. First one, you repeat it 1 month later, and the third one, 6 months after the second one. And we now have the new one now, Gardasil 9. So now we have it covering a lot more of the strains that are likely to cause cervical cancer. And what we found in the Caribbean was even though we had certainly at 16 and 18, we had a significant amount of number 45 when they did the survey in the Caribbean. So this is now almost better adapted, not only to where we were using it before, but more so to the Caribbean now. This is a little bit on Goddess here. And this is just some information to tell you. And so if we're using the vaccination, we can stop some of the cancer. Same thing again, 9 to 26. If you could prevent cervical cancer, would you? So in other words, the question is raised, would you allow your kids? Because we had a lot of resistance where parents didn't want the kids to be vaccinated on the false, and we even got a lot of resistance from the negative impact from the churches as well, because they were thinking that if you gave somebody a vaccine, they gotta go and have sex, because this disease is related to sexual activity, which is so far from the truth. But what we have done now, the pediatricians are fought, instead of people like myself, and where I see women rather than children, the pediatricians are now doing it, and it's now being added to the vaccination program in most of the schools and the community. If you see a lesion, it should be biopsied and staged, again, proper examination. Cancer of the cervix spread within the region. So cancer of the cervix doesn't go to the brain and the breast and the lungs like some of the other cancers do. It stays in the pelvis. All right, and I show you this again. And again, you can see, this is what it does. It spreads into the cervix itself, and then it spreads right across the body wall. It actually kills you by disrupting the function of the kidney. It blocks off the drainage system. You go into renal failure. Now, a few people probably bleed to death, but that's very, very rare. This is just, again, the different types and the different, all the types are all over the world. So I want to close. I think I've done enough. So I'd like to thank everybody who have given me the opportunity to share time. The Cancer Society is the most beautiful association and meaningful association I've ever worked with. I really, really enjoy it. And I laugh at sometimes when I remember how I got involved. When I came here and I saw all those people from the Family Islands coming in with advanced cancer. And I was stupid enough to think, maybe these people in Bahamas don't know how to treat cancer of the cervix. And then Judy Ward Carter took me on a plane ride to Exuma, on a 9-seater plane. And I traveled the whole way to Exuma. And then I realized that Exuma, and I've learned afterwards that the difficulty that some of the islands had. In other words, there was nobody there to do the testing. All right? And we had a beautiful weekend. All right? And to end the trip, we came back on a 5-seater. But I have a lot of stories of having traveled, the people I met, and I still continue. Now, I'm just going to step down from the executive stuff, but I still be part of the cancer. I ain't going nowhere. Great. So thank you kindly, and I open the floor for questions. When we started this program, the Cancer Society started this program, I remember very, very well, this was supposed to be a 5-year program where we were going to do pap smear, but our job was to let people become aware. So information, teaching them what the pap smear was all about, because a lot of people didn't know what the pap smear was, or they need to have it. And the government was supposed to jump in after the 5 years. Sadly enough, it's almost 30 years now, and it's still not done. And again, if you think about it, the Cancer Society, despite doing the wonderful job, it's far from ideal, because you go there on a Saturday. How many people can you do on one Saturday? If there's a funeral, ain't nobody coming. If there's a wedding, ain't nobody coming. If it rains, ain't nobody coming, because we probably can't go. And so I did 108 pap smears one Saturday. And again, we often capture the same set of people every year, because they come, diligently every year for the pap smear. And there's still a set of there that has never made themselves available. And so that's what we need. So we need people to start spreading the word.
Dr. Bloomfield, one of the things I found with spreading the word, it's easy to do that, but I find that a lot of people have a stigma with both pap smears as well as the mammo, because they listen to other persons in terms of, oh, it hurt this and that, so they don't be inclined to do it. And like you said, there are certain persons who would always come to do it, but others, it's hard to get them to.
One One of the things that people have often said to me that getting a pap smear done is uncomfortable, it's painful. But I find that we do the same thing if you're pregnant and there's any reason for us to examine the vagina and the cervix. And they lend themselves quite readily to it. Now, I understand that they have a baby on board and they're very concerned about it, but it's the same exercise. You know, but again, they listen to a lot of stuff. It's the same way they come asking me about merengue and aloe and all kind of bush. You know, and they're going to treat everything, including death, with some of these medications. You know, so, but they listen to these stories instead of listening to, you know.
I mean, I guess it's a two-way street. You always give the talk and try and make people understand what the severity of it is, but they don't listen. With the vaccine, we're finding out that the vaccines are all getting expired because no one wants to take the vaccine.
Yeah.
People are afraid of the needles, but you get the vaccine, you get a preventable disease.
Again, I like what he says. I talk about the vaccine. I've been talking about cancer of the cervix for many, many years. I don't think I've vaccinated 20 people in my office, in spite of the message I give.
Afraid of needles.
They're just not accepting it. Okay.
Dr. Bloomfield, this is a token for appreciation for giving us speech tonight. And I'm sure you'll be back, giving us more talk.